These two tablets might be the first devices that genuinely pulled me out of my chaotic, easily distracted artist brain. And trust me, that is pretty remarkable. These are the reMarkable Paper Pro devices, the original larger tablet and the new smaller pocketable Move. And I've been testing both devices for a couple of weeks now, and as an artist, I may have some opinions that might surprise some of you. Now, I don't know whether it shows on my channel, but I am a spectacularly disorganized mess. I'm always last minute with deadlines, and I get distracted so easily it should count as a superpower, just unfortunately not a useful one. So when I heard the philosophy behind the reMarkable Paper Pro and the Move, I instantly thought, aha, the intervention that I need. I knew the distraction-free simplicity would help me organize, but genuinely what I wasn't expecting was how good the drawing experience is. So for anyone like me who's new to this kind of device, it's e-ink technology. So very much like a Kindle screen, no garish, blinding light, kind of makes you feel like your retinas can take a deep breath. And I'll get into the tech of the screen technology in a minute. But first, I think it's really important just to not think of this device as an alternative to the iPad. So don't compare it to regular tablets. It's good to think of it as digital paper. So it's you, your pen, and your thoughts, for better or worse. So there's no internet, no apps, no games, no YouTube, no emails, no notifications, no messages. So basically, no distractions. Templates and a small, intentionally limited toolset to keep you organized rather than overwhelmed. And these things are designed first and foremost as writing devices. Now, I don't know about you, but I normally hate my handwriting. And sometimes even I can't read it. But with the fountain pen tool on here, it's actually satisfying. And it almost tricks me into thinking that I have nice handwriting, which I don't. And the really joyful part of this device is the textured glass. It sounds and feels, well, not exactly like paper, but close enough so that it's way better than any matte screen protector I've ever used on any iPad screen. And it genuinely doesn't feel like you're drawing on glass. So the friction is lovely, the accuracy is great, latency is low, so it really keeps up with wherever you're putting your gestures and your marks. Everything appears in real time. And also the pressure sensitivity is really good. So if you're familiar with using the Apple Pencil, you're basically getting a very similar experience to that, except for that texture. So you get less of that slippy drawing on an ice rink feel that you get with the Apple Pencil. Now look, I love the iPad. I've made everything on it, so from sketches to fully finished pieces of artwork. My entire channel has kind of been built on the iPad and the Apple Pencil and teaching within Procreate, and I'm definitely not abandoning it anytime soon. And the drawing experience on the iPad is fine, really, I wouldn't complain. But even with the matte screen protector, it still feels like drawing on glass. Added to this, the bright screen, the pretty unlimited zooming in and out, panning around, all amazing features, but it kind of makes the experience less calm and less somehow real. Now, I'm a traditional artist at heart still, even though I do a lot of digital work these days. I used to doodle constantly, usually at inappropriate times, much to the despair of my teachers at school. And then later on, it was sketchbook after sketchbook, and sometimes they'd evolve into full paintings, and other times they'd just stay as drawings. I just love the process of actually drawing on paper. But after kind of making the conscious decision to switch to digital almost 20 years ago now, somehow that drawing and doodling has just kind of faded away in my art output. Now, the reMarkable isn't a paper surface too. It still can't match that kind of carbon on paper that you can smudge and, you know, it's very much in the real world. But it's a lot closer to that grounded, calm, almost kind of meditative, in the moment feel. Now it does have a backlight, which is good for dark environments, but it's nowhere near as harsh as an OLED or LED screen. Now one slightly strange thing with the screen, whenever you pan or zoom in and out or change something fundamental with the screen flashes like it's having a tiny existential crisis. It does look odd at first, but it's just how this kind of e-ink technology works. And it's normal for e-ink Gallery 3 screen technology that these devices use. So the screen is full of millions of little tiny micro cups, each containing cyan, magenta, yellow and black pigments, and electrical charges move these around to create colours, moves them backwards and forwards in those little micro cups. Yes, there's colour. The colour's not great, it's not really going to be like, you know, an iPad screen, but if you're doing simple use of colour, then it can have its uses for highlighting in text and basic illustration stuff. But because the screen literally rearranges pigments, it's never going to be that kind of buttery smooth transition like an iPad screen. But in exchange, you get some other advantages. So the screen reflects the ambient light much more like real paper does. It actually looks better in bright sunlight where an iPad would really struggle. It only uses power when the screen updates something, when you make some changes to what's on the display. And once the pigments settle, no energy is needed, the image just stays there. You can even set what the current document is displaying to show when the device powers down and goes to sleep. Now, because of this, the reMarkable team claim that it has a 2-week battery life. Now, in my experience, it doesn't really last that long. It's maybe a few days. But coming from an iPad, that actually is pretty amazing. So it lasts a lot longer than you typically expect an iPad would for kind of continuous use. Unless you're an idiot like me and leaves the backlight on all day. And honestly, it's quite subtle, so you don't tend to notice it in the daylight. So you just need to be extra vigilant and make sure you've switched it off. Now, the tools, when you're actually drawing and you're doing art, yeah, they're pretty basic, but they are some genuinely helpful features. So we've got layers, lasso, 2-finger to undo, just like in Procreate. The eraser, let's say it's enthusiastic, but it's not very precise. Now, if you get the upgraded pen, it has an eraser on the reverse and you can just flip it over. In convenience sake, it's fantastic, but it really is quite clumsy. It's not very precise. But I found a workaround. If you're using pencil especially and you're sketching, you want to remove a section, I just select the white color and then I have a really controlled way of erasing. Like I said, the zooming and panning around is pretty clunky. It flashes and sometimes it just doesn't register at all for those little micro adjustments that you'd typically be able to do on an iPad. And if you're coming straight from an iPad, the difference is a little bit jarring. And the resolution is limited too. So whenever you sort of email the documents to yourself, you zoom in and you get these strange little squares, kind of pixels. It kind of breaks down under more zoomed in scrutiny. Again, I found another workaround. If I just put it into Procreate and add maybe 2% blur to it, so it doesn't really blur the image, but it just seems to just spread those little squares enough that it has a better look, a better aesthetic as a real like drawing. But honestly, I don't look at these devices as a place where you're going to look to produce finished pieces. This is my ideas space, perfect for doodles, sketches, and exploring pushing shapes around. But I'd say not for finished artwork. Now the Move is even smaller, so you'd expect that to be even more limited, and it is. But in some ways, that's kind of why it's brilliant as a digital portable sketchbook. And because it literally fits in my pocket, I take it everywhere, which makes it ideal for sketching in a coffee shop, or you're waiting in the dentist, or you've just gone for a walk, or you just get an extra 5 minutes that you didn't expect. I found with a larger Paper Pro, you kind of need to have an intention to use it, and you need a bag to carry it around to keep it safe, which is fine. It's not massive. It's still smaller than an iPad Pro, but the Move, well, that just lives with me now. And because it's always there, I'm constantly using it, far more than I expected. And a bonus, albeit a costly one, if you own both devices, then anything you've done on the Move when you've been out and about will sync up when you get onto your home Wi-Fi, appear on a larger device, and then you can continue working it and refine it that little bit further. And because of this, it's genuinely helped me find or rediscover my passion for doodling. That calm headspace where I'm just pushing around and exploring shapes. Now the build quality is lovely. They have a glass screen, though it doesn't feel like glass even to the finger touch. The large Paper Pro has a metal back, it's all aluminium. Beautiful, really luxury kind of materials and design. The Move has a plastic back, although it's textured again and it somehow doesn't feel like plastic. Again, a really nice object in your hand. They feel really premium, but they are fragile. So if you've owned aluminium framed iPhones in the past, you know if you drop them, if you ding them, they're going to get little nicks on them. And I'm a bit of a klutz, and I've already managed to, when the larger device was out of the case, drop it on a hard floor, and I did get a little ding to it. But the covers are great. They're really nice quality. They're a little bit expensive. You can get third-party alternatives and you'll save yourself a ton of money there. But yeah, the materials are lovely and they do offer really good protection. So they attach magnetically. They've got a really nice soft sort of lining. They incorporate the pen when it's attached and it's got a really nice clever design with the clasp. There's also a really nice keyboard folio. No trackpad on it, but it has got a backlight, and it delivers a very similar kind of experience to the Magic Keyboard on the iPad. But I found the keyboard on the iPad really frustrating because whenever I want to do some drawing, I'd have to remove it. You don't need to do that with this one. It just folds away neatly, still offers that protection, but allows you to use the device as a drawing tablet too. And honestly, you can kind of forget that the keyboard's there a lot of the time. It's not as heavy and it's not as thick as the Magic Keyboard for the iPad. So yeah, a pretty portable option and cover for this device. Now, a quick bit of transparency. I bought my smaller device, the Paper Pro Move. I knew it would benefit me, so I bought it for myself. But the reMarkable team did send me the larger original Paper Pro and the keyboard and a folio for it so that I could test it. But my opinions are my own. I probably would have bought both for myself. Now, they are expensive. The larger Paper Pro is $629. It comes with a standard basic pen, which you can upgrade for an extra $50 so that you have the eraser on the back part of the pen. And the Move starts at $449, again with an upgradable pen. If you buy the Marker Plus alone, it's $129, but you can get it as part of a deal. The keyboard folio is $229. The book folio is at $89. So if you get the larger Pro, the upgraded pen and the keyboard folio, it's going to set you back like $829. So you can see there's a range of options, but none of them are cheap. Go for the third-party covers, then you're certainly going to make some savings there, but it's a very expensive range of products. Now, added to this, the very deliberate limitations of these devices that's grounded in the philosophy of them will likely mean for a lot of people these devices may not make sense. You might reasonably think, I can do all of that on an iPad, and you'd be right. But if you're like me, easily distracted and craving that calm, almost meditative flow state, then you might see the value. Now, I'm not going to, in good conscience, try to persuade you either way. I think if these are going to be devices and products that will be good for you, I think you kind of know it, like I did. And that's probably going to be between you and your bank account. I thought I'd share my thoughts on this device. I've really enjoyed using it. For me, it's a no-brainer. It makes absolute sense in my workflow. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please hit subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and I shall see you soon. Bye for now.